Hi team, Anna here, makeup creator, teacher, and educator, specifically for people with hooded eyes. And today we are going to be talking about the newest addition to the Natasha Denona collection, the Roxa eyeshadow palette. I just got it yesterday. It took a while for it to get to me because I always order it on pre-shipping on the Natasha Denona, not pre-shipping, pre-order on the Natasha Denona website, and I got it last night. Let's talk about it. So I am a huge Natasha Denona fan through and through. I purchase everything, well, almost everything she comes out with, and I adore their eyeshadow palettes. They're my favorite brand in the whole entire world. And I was a little bit confused when I saw this palette revealed. I was like, okay, it's a purple palette. What is the thought behind it? Why are we launching it in the winter? Why is it not trendy cool tones, you know? But at the same time, I knew that I would buy it. And when I got it in my hands and I opened it up, it is gorgeous. It is beautiful, but I'm not gonna lie to you. It was not an easy decision to spend $69 on this eyeshadow palette, knowing that it's not really something I'm gonna reach for that often. However, it is absolutely gorgeous, and I know that I will most likely enjoy the quality and enjoy the palette. And also, purple shades look really beautiful on brown eyes, especially deep brown eyes. So do I regret buying it? Not yet, but we'll see at the end of this video. Anyways, it was like, you know, throughout the year, I bought the I Need a Warm palette, I bought the golden Natasha Denona palette. What else she came out with this year? I really enjoyed those, and I really love those. And I typically really love colorful eyeshadow palettes. I feel like, in my opinion, this looked a little bit boring. Like, I wanted more from this palette when they announced it in black and white. I wanted it to be kind of like the Huda Beauty Icy Nude palette looks like, but with purple, you know what I mean? Like cool tones, icy, grays, but also purple. I feel like that would have been a little bit more my vibe, but at the same time, I cannot deny the genius of Natasha Denona. She's the best. Their eyeshadow palettes is the best. If you like purples, you probably really want this. This is probably absolutely gorgeous for you. I love purples too, so let's just dive right in. Let's talk about this palette. I just wanted to kind of clear up some things at the beginning of the video because typically I'm like over the moon and so excited and cannot wait to get into it. But this time it's kind of like, I like this palette, but I'm not in love with it yet. So let's see if I'll fall in love with it after using it because I haven't even touched anything. So this is going to be the Natasha Denona Roxa eyeshadow palette. This is the box that comes in. There's going to be 15 shades as per usual. I believe they're all new shades, or at least some of the shades that have the same name as others have like a different formula. Like I see Flutter, but I know it's a different Flutter than she had one in the Retro Glam palette, I believe. Anyways, the box is really beautiful. It's giving duochrome, which we'll talk about the Triochrome palette a little bit later because I have a bunch of Natasha Denona palettes here to find dupes because I feel like I have a lot of Natasha Denona purples. Yeah, that's one thing about me kind of like hesitating to buy this because I have so many purples from Natasha. Anyways, here is the palette in all its glory. Does it look really, really beautiful? Yes, it absolutely and totally does. The shimmers look stunning. The mattes look buttery and soft. I think there's something new about her matte formulas here. Not a creamy matte, not a cream to matte formula, but a new matte formula. We'll give it a try. We'll give it a try. It looks really, really spectacular. We're going to swatch everything. We're going to create a beautiful eyeshadow look with it, and we're going to compare it to other Natasha Denona palettes in my collection and one more palette that is not by Natasha Denona, but I seen some swatches that looked similar, so I wanted to test it out myself. Anyways, let's get into swatching. Oh, I don't want to touch it. I love it too much. Let's do it. Let's do it though. I'm gonna do row by row. So we have the first row here. Here are the first 4 shades. This first one looks, oh my god, so beautiful and duochromy. So we got the shade Dixie here that literally blew my mind. Yeah, it has like some blue in it and some pink. Beautiful. Shade Jacaranda, not sure if I'm pronouncing correctly. Then we got the shade Flutter, which looks different than the Flutter we got before, which is just a beautiful pink shimmer. The shade Phoebe, which I'm really intrigued by because it's a cool toned violet, kind of really muted pink. And last shade in this first row is going to be shade Regal, which is just a metallic, kind of duochromy, kind of golden, kind of pink. The swatches are not giving, and I don't know if it's just me. I don't know if I'm doing the right job here. Like, I love this first shades, but everything else is kind of okay. I don't want to be negative in this review. This is my favorite brand, just kind of to clarify that. But it is what it is. I'm not inspired so far. All right, row number 2, and I missed the kind of really the duo shadow pan because I want to swatch it like live with you guys. This shade looks insane. wow. Anyways, so these are the 4 shades from row 2 besides the one in the middle. We got the shade Eclipse, which is a deep kind of aubergine shade. Love that. This shade Stargirl, definitely the star of the show. Oh my god, phenomenal. Really, really beautiful. And 2 kind of warmer shades. We got Heather and we got Cerise, I think. Anyways, the mattes are not swatching the best, but I know they're gonna perform really well, if that makes sense, because it's Natasha Denona. Let's take a look at this middle shade Bold though, because it's really, really interesting. It has blue and purple shimmer, and I think if you mix it, it's gonna be like a mix of both. And Natasha said that however you mix it, it kind of like, it's going to be a different shade for everyone. I also wanted to mention that if you want to purchase anything off of the Natasha Denona website, this palette or anything else, you can use my code Anastasia15. That helps me out quite a bit. You guys, let's touch this together. So this is the shade Bold, because it's not ever going to look the same after I touch it. Ooh, that's kind of cool. Wait, I kind of like this. This is really fun. This is what it looks like. Definitely a mix of blue and purple, if you ask me. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I think things have got a little bit more interesting with row number 2, and that excites me. So far, this looks like an interesting color story. The question is, though, is it purple? I see one truly purple shade. Everything else is kind of purple adjacent, I guess, but the color story is not giving me purple so far. All right, let's touch the last 5 shades. Okay, we got 4 shades here looking kind of pink. We got the shade Sweet Pea, which I actually really, really like. Bubblegum pink, if you ask me. Concord, beautiful purple shade. Velour is also a really beautiful, more like lilac-y shade. And then we got the shade Brink, which is going to be, ooh, actually a really stunning magenta, kind of reddish duochrome. I love that. Last shade is also matte, and it's going to be the shade Orchid. Okay. The last 5 shades really showed me that it is truly a purple palette, mostly pinky purple with a hint of warmth, which I don't mind at all. This overall actually looks really gorgeous. Like, it actually looks really pretty, and I know that it's going to make my deep brown eyes pop. I know that when I create the eyeshadow look in the next few minutes, I'm gonna absolutely fall in love with it. However, the question is, will I use this palette very often? Probably not. Probably not. That is why I was kind of on the fence about buying it, and that is why I'm kind of not super excited / positive in this review, because like I just know that I spent a ton of money on something that I'm not going to make a lot of use out of. However, it's pretty. It's really pretty. It's really pretty, and after swatching it, I think it's even prettier. So I actually can't wait to put this on my eyeballs. Let's get to it. I'm gonna start by priming my eyes. I'm gonna use the Kaleidos Tone Activator eyeshadow primer. I find it working really beautiful with colorful eyeshadows, and I'm just going to kind of blend it out. I'm actually going to use my sponge and just blend it up to the brows and out to the temples. I also made a point of not watching anyone's reviews. Like, after I film mine, I will go ahead and watch some of my favorite creators here on YouTube review this palette and see what they think. This is just my opinion. I don't know what other creators think about it, but from overall kind of vibes, I feel like people were excited about this palette. Obviously, it's not going to be a sold out like cult classic like I Need a Nude or something like that, or a glam palette, but it's going to be a loved one. So what I wanted to actually try is I wanted to use the shade Phoebe, which is the lightest matte in this palette, and try and see if it is going to work as a inner corner highlighter for me. The answer is no, which is a little bit sad. I love using a matte inner corner highlight, and I was kind of hoping that this palette would have that, but it doesn't, which is not a big deal. Let's just go ahead and use the shade Dixie. I'm just going to use the same brush. It is a very beautiful duochrome, really, really impactful sparkly shade, and I want to apply it in my inner corner here and under my brow for a little bit of color. I'm going to be doing one eye here, and then I will film one eye for short form content. So let's work on this eye. I'm going to start with the shade Sweet Pea to start blending our crease, kind of start creating some definition. I will be creating a blended kind of really, really beautiful multicolored look, just because I want to try as many mattes as possible in this palette. This is giving me a hint of pink, which is exactly what I thought it would give me. Really, really beautiful. Less muted than so in the palette, but I'm here for it. I think this is going to look super vibrant, even though in the palette it kind of looks more muted. I don't know if that makes sense. Let's continue with the shade Velour, and I'm gonna try and kind of stick to the purples in this palette. I'm not gonna try the warmer shades here, but you could probably really create a look that doesn't really scream purple if you use the shade Heather and like use just like warmer tones. So far, everything is blending beautifully. I don't really see a difference between this formula and the creamy matte formula. I know if I'm supposed to, but it feels literally the same. The eyeshadows blend themselves. It's really a pleasure pleasure to work with these shadows, and I really love it so far. I'm gonna go in the shade Orchid, and then, you know, we only have one more shade that is deeper, so I'm just gonna deepening my crease and using each of these tones kind of like deeper and deeper and placing it a little bit lower than the previous one. So with the shade Orchid, I'm only kind of concentrating this on the outer corner. It's giving deep pink. It's not giving me, I don't know, I wanted a cool tone purple palette, and because of that thought, when I didn't see it in the reveal, I got skeptical and I'm like ruining everything. Hopefully I'm not ruining this review for you, but yeah, I think I wanted a cool tone palette, kind of like Icy Nude from Huda, but like with purples, and I didn't get it, and so now I'm a little bit petty. So let's just move past that. The shadows are beautiful. If we're not talking about my color preferences, this is absolutely gorgeous, like no question asked, like absolutely stunning, blended itself, and it looks really pretty. Just do not mess up the look. I'm gonna take a really small fluffy brush and get into the deepest shade, which is the shade Eclipse, and start placing that in the very outer portion. Just see how much depth we can get. Oh, I actually missed one more purple, the one with like a bluish undertone. I will actually add that a little bit later in the crease, but this one, yeah, this one is giving me depth, and I'm kind of really liking it, to be honest. It also is blending really beautifully and easily. Actually, I've heard multiple times by people who create makeup that purples are the hardest to produce, and they're always like, purples and blues are always like super patchy for that reason. This one is not. This one is really layering beautifully. It is a gorgeous Italian formula, I will give you that. Absolutely stunning. I will add that shade Jacaranda. I will pick it up on that super fluffy brush just to add that coolness and blue toned purple throughout my crease. I'm actually loving what I see. I love that I made a pinky look more purple by doing that. Actually, what I wanted to do here. And then without adding anything else on the previous brush, I'm just going to blend it out even further, deepen things up a little bit more, and then move on to the lower lash line. I'm going to use the same mattes on the lower lash line. I'm starting with the lightest one. I'm actually mixing a lot of Sweet Pea and Velour and just running that along my lash line, knowing that this is going to be the lightest shade in the blend. And then I am going to pop in a little bit of Orchid on the outer portion here, and then move on to the deepest shade, which is going to be Eclipse, and just pop that on the very outer. I mean, you just saw it. It took me 30 seconds to do an entire lower lash line, and it looks gorgeous. I used one small fluffy brush and a bunch of these shades. I love when we have a big variety of shades and we can go from light to deep, and it looks stunning. Like, it looks stunning. I haven't even applied shimmers yet. I'm already in love because it's making my deep brown eyes pop really nicely, and it just looks so gorgeous. I don't know what to do with shimmers though. I desperately want to use Stargirl, obviously. I don't know if I want to use this blue mix, blue and purple, but I guess I have to because it's such a new formula and it's just very unique for Natasha, so I will actually do that. So this is the shade Bold, which has blue and purple, and I'm going to apply it kind of through the center of my lid. I am like, it's fun, it's a fun concept, but just like in Huda Beauty palettes, like I don't need that. Like, I don't care about those like swirly shades that look like, yeah, they look pretty, but on the eye, it's not really wowing me. What is wowing me is this shade Stargirl. When I swatched it, it looked so beautiful. It was one of the most impactful shades in the palette. So I'm gonna try and press that in the very inner portion. Like, look at that. That looks so good. It reminds me of another shade by some like indie brand, like Odin's Eye or something. It's so beautiful. It's so gorgeous. So far, my favorite shade of this palette, along with Dixie, I think. I will actually add a little bit of this Dixie shade that I put in the inner corner and under my brow, just on top of everything, and kind of like to add those sparkles and a little bit more of that blue pigment. Yeah, I think that was really pretty. That was a good choice. Okay, so here are the shadows. This is what the look is looking like before eyeliner and eyelashes and mascara, obviously. Do I like it? Yes, absolutely. Do I have a million other purple palettes that could create this look? Yes, absolutely. Nonetheless, I am pretty happy and I enjoyed creating this look. And let me pop on eyeliner and lashes, film the other eye for short form content, and then show you the final result, talk a little bit more about it, and swatch, compare it to the other purple palettes that I have in my collection, mostly Natasha Denona, but also one not from the brand. Let me know what you think. I'm hoping that I'm not too negative. I'm just trying to be really real with you guys always. So this is how I really feel about this palette. It's cool, but it's nothing to write home about so far. And keep in mind, I'm the biggest fan of this brand, the biggest fan of Natasha. So I will see you in a bit. All right, team, I have finished my makeup makeup, I did some liner and lashes, and I finished the other eye. Do I look absolutely gorgeous and stunning? Yes, yes, indeed, I do. This palette makes my eyes pop. I absolutely adore purples on me. It is and has forever been my favorite color, like eyeshadow color on me. So I think I'm gonna use this a little bit more than I anticipated, to be honest with you. I like it. I like having all of the purples for a purple look in one eyeshadow palette, because when I was doing my makeup, I realized that I used to kind of hop from one to another palette to find like all of the tones to create a beautiful blended look. Now I have everything in one palette, and for that I am grateful. I still think that this palette could have been a little bit more interesting, but I'm not too frustrated that I picked it up, if that makes sense. Like, I love it. It's beautiful. It looks so beautiful on me. It's a gorgeous, colorful palette from Natasha Denona, just another one in my collection, and I don't mind it. Let's take a look at other palettes that I have by Natasha Denona and see if there are any similarities and if I even needed to purchase this one. We're gonna start off with a mini. This is a mini rose palette. It's kind of in a more pinky tone, but I still wanted to compare the two. I kind of feel like this will create a more of a neutral pink look, and this will definitely give you more hints of purple. In terms of similar shades, yes, this dusty rose, what is this? Andy definitely looks like some of these, but it has a little bit of a warmer undertone, so no clear dupes here. Another shimmer that kind of looks similar to maybe Flutter is Psychedelic. I do know that these are different formulas and different shimmers, but nonetheless, I am going to kind of swatch the two. So this is Andy from Mini Rose. This is Flutter. Wow, they look really, really different on my fingers, which is a good thing, which means that I really don't have any dupes from this palette in that one. So let's move on. Next palette that I have here is the Love Face palette. And yes, Natasha signed this one for me because I met her a year ago. Oh no, actually more than a year ago, a year and a half ago. It was one of the best days in my entire life. So Natasha, thank you for that. But nonetheless, I will be real with you guys, and I'm not gonna lie that I'm not head over heels with this palette, even though I love her and her brand so much. Anyways, this is where things get interesting. I feel like the shade Oiko and the shade Eclipse look similar. I feel like, of course, this is more pink and more hot pink than this, but these are giving me same vibes. As in, probably the looks are going to be kind of similar. Yes, this one has warmth and pinks, but this one also has warmth and pinks and purples. Do you know what I mean? Like, the only real difference is that the shimmer in here is super, super different than any of the shimmers here. And I adore this shimmer, actually. I absolutely love it. But I will swatch probably just the two deep purple shades. So we have the Love Face palette, the new palette. Yep. They look quite similar, don't you think so? And these are different shades. Left Face palette shade Aiko. And then the new palette, the shade is called Eclipse. I'm gonna swatch it right here. Yeah, they're literally the same shade. Like, you cannot tell me that this won't look the same on the eye. They are literally the same shade with a different name. There's something not so good about it. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. What was the point in creating a new shade? For this price point and the luxury experience that I'm having with Natasha Denona, I'm gonna be nitpicking. And this is my take. These shades are exactly the same. All right, let's move on. One of the first palettes I thought about when I saw Roxa palette was the Natasha Denona Love eyeshadow palette. And it doesn't really make sense because they are different, but this palette not only has reds and burgundies, it does have a purple segment. And if we only compare that purple segment to this palette, like, there is kind of similar vibes, right? I'm not crazy. Definitely nothing quite like this shade Dream here. Nothing like that bluish purple. But then the shade Trust kind of looks like a mix of these two purples in the new palette. It's not really enough to swatch compare, but I kind of felt like I could definitely create a similar look using this palette, a similar to this palette look. Like, it felt like this is a continuation of the purple color story from the Love palette. I hope I'm making sense, but yeah, they're not dupes, but kind of similar vibes here. Then I got the Retro palette, which is one of my all-time favorites by Natasha Denona. This one has a very dusty rose cool tone look to it. Now that I opened it up, wow, oh so different from Roxa. Most used palette in my collection by Natasha Denona for sure. Adore this eyeshadow palette. And yeah, this is way more muted, way more dusty rose, way more kind of like burgundy purple, if that makes sense. And then looking at the two next to each other, definitely very different. Probably the shades Groove. Oh no, actually these two shades, right? They look so similar. I'm gonna swatch them. Shade Amara from Retro and shade Cerise from Roxa. Definitely gonna swatch them. These are definitely not dupes. These are different. Amara has more of a burgundy vibe to it. Cerise is really magenta pink here. Wow, interesting. Very cool. I'm happy to see that. I'm happy to see that the shades are different. So yeah, definitely not a dupe to this one. Then I also thought immediately about the Triochrome palette because even the cover, like, do you see that same duochrome vibe where it's purple to kind of greeny to gold? Like, these covers even look the same to me. Like, they're cousins. They're not sisters, they're cousins. You know what I mean? So this is the Natasha Denona Triochrome palette. And this palette, I rearranged it. It doesn't look like this when you buy it, but it has an entire row of purples. Yes, I did kind of rearrange it to make it row by row because, you know, that's how I like it. This has an entire row of purples. And you cannot convince me that using these mattes, I couldn't come up with this look. I totally could. The only thing is this palette is missing is kind of like these opaque sparkly shimmers, right? But the mattes, I could totally look exactly like this if I use these mattes, like 100%, 1,000,000%. But I will kind of show them side by side to you, so make your own decision in case you're still on the fence about purchasing it, right? Like, this row is giving all of these vibes 100%. I'm going to swatch the shade, actually I don't know the shade name of this one, but kind of a cool tone muted purple here next to Phoebe from the new palette because they look the same, girl. They look the same. They are a little different. So this is the Triochrome palette. Don't have the shade name, unfortunately. It has a little bit more of a darker base, and then the new palette a lighter one. Very interesting. Ooh, yeah, this one is more lilac-y. This one is more like light. Basically maybe the same shade with more white in it, if that makes sense, but I still cannot use that in my inner corner. It's still not light enough for me. Anyways, mattes in the Triochrome palette are definitely dupeable. 1,000,000%. And then one last palette, I saw a video on YouTube randomly today. I did not watch it, but I saw the title, which was swatching and comparing the new Natasha Denona Roxa palette and the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz palette. And I was like, hold on. Obviously, they're not very similar, but this is a cool tone palette, purples and pinks. And obviously it also has browns. And this is a cool tone palette with purples and pinks. Isn't that interesting? I feel like there's definitely some dupes here, like these two shades, Velour and Serenity, for sure look very similar. And the pinks as well. The shimmers are very different though. The shimmers in here are telling a different story. So I wouldn't say these palettes are dupeable looking them right now. They have similar vibes, but at the same time, I feel like the looks would be really different. So I think that if you like this palette and you have this palette and you've been eyeing this one, if you buy it, you won't really regret it. That's what I'm trying to say. Anyways, so these are all of the palettes I wanted to kind of show you next to this Roxa one in case you were still wondering and trying to make your decision. I will say I'm happy I purchased it, but I will probably not be reaching for it that often. Unless I want to do a purple look, then definitely this is my guy. This is what I'm gonna go for. If I want to create a purple eyeshadow look, which happens often in my life, it's not like a once a year type of thing. I do love my purple, so I really don't mind purchasing it. The look is stunning. The purples are beautiful. If you're a purple eyeshadow lover, definitely get it. Definitely, absolutely. Just use my code Anastasia15 to save some coins, but absolutely get it. It's gorgeous. If you're kind of like on the fence about it, you don't know if you want it, then it's your decision to make. I am not head over heels about this palette. It's beautiful, it's gorgeous, but it's not unique enough for me to be like so in love with it like I was with, say, the retro palette or some other Natasha Denona palettes that I love that are my favorites. Like I feel like Yucca was unique enough because it had so many different color stories. If this had a little bit more to it, like maybe a little bit of blue or a little bit of cool tone neutrals, like I don't know, something mixed in, maybe then I would enjoy it more and I would be a little bit more in love with it. I like it, I don't love it. That's the my kind of final thought, but let me know if you picked it up. Let me know your thoughts. What do we think about this eyeshadow look? Let me know if I'm being too harsh or if you agree with me. I really want to know. And yeah, I am happy that I picked it up. I'm happy that I picked it up. It's not my favorite from the brand, but it's not my least favorite. You know what I mean? It's not the bronze palette. I don't like the bronze palette. The quality is amazing. It's just not my color story. But yeah, that is it for today. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I love you all so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.